Hare Krishna. We'd like to welcome everyone to our reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. Today we'll be reading chapter 84. So as we usually do, let's offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarane. And to each other, Vanchakalpaturubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So for all of you online, you can turn to chapter 84, Sacrificial Ceremonies Performed by Vasudeva. Among the women present at Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse were Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, and the queens of many other kings, as well as the gopis from Vrindavan. When the different queens of Lord Krishna were submitting their statements as to how they had been married and accepted by Lord Krishna as his wives, all the female members of the Kuru dynasty were struck with wonder. They were filled with admiration at how all the queens of Krishna were attached to him with love and affection. And when they heard about the queen's intensity of love and affection for Krishna, they could not check their eyes from filling with tears.
While the women were engaged in conversations among themselves, and men were similarly engaged in conversation, there arrived from all directions almost all the important sages and ascetics, who had come from the purpose of seeing Lord Krishna and Balaram. Chief among the sages were Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, the great sage Narad, Jyavana, Devala, Asita, Vishwamitra, Satananda, Bharadvaja, Gautama, Lord Purusaram, along with his disciples, Vashishta, Gavala, Bhrigu, Pulastya, Kashyapa, Atri, Markandeya, Brahaspati, Dvita, Drita, Ikata, the four Kumara sons of Brahma, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, Angira, Gastya, Jaina, Valkya, and Vamadeva.
As soon as the sages and ascetics arrived, all the kings, including Maharaj Yudhishthir and the other Pandavas and Lord Krishna and Balram, immediately got up from their seats and offered respects by bowing down to the universally respected sages. After this, the sages were properly welcomed by being offered seats and water for washing their feet. Palatable fruits, garlands of flowers, incense, and sandalwood pulp were presented, and all the kings, led by Krishna and Balram, worshipped the sages according to the Vedic rules and regulations. When all the sages were comfortably seated, Lord Krishna, who descended for the protection of religion, began to address them on behalf of all the kings. When Krishna began to speak, all became silent, being eager to hear and understand his welcoming words to the sages.
Lord Krishna spoke thus: All glories to the assembled sages and ascetics. Today we all feel that our lives have become successful. Today we have achieved the desired goal of life because we now see face to face all the exalted, liberated sages and ascetics, whom even the great demigods in the heavens desire to see. Persons who are neophytes in devotional service and who simply offer their respectful obeisances to the deity in the temple but cannot realize that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and those who simply worship different demigods for fulfillment of their own lusty desires are unable to understand the importance of these sages. They cannot take advantage of receiving these sages by seeing them with their eyes, by touching their lotus feet, by inquiring about their welfare, or by diligently worshipping them.
Neophyte devotees or religionists cannot understand the importance of great Mahatmas. They go to the temple as a matter of formality and pay their respectful obeisances unto the deity. But when one is promoted to the next platform of transcendental consciousness, one can understand the importance of Mahatmas and devotees, and in that stage, one tries to please them. Therefore, Lord Krishna said that the neophyte cannot understand the importance of great sages, devotees, or ascetics.
Lord Krishna continued, one cannot purify himself merely by traveling to holy places of pilgrimage and taking a bath there, or by seeing the demigods' forms in the temples. But if one happens to meet a great devotee, a Mahatma, who is a representative of the personality of Godhead, one is immediately purified. To become purified, one is enjoined to worship the fire, the sun, the moon, the earth, the water, the air, the sky, and the mind. By worshipping all the elements and their predominating deities, one can gradually become free from the influence of envy. But all the sins of an envious person can be nullified immediately simply by serving a great soul. My dear revered sages and respectable kings, you can take it from me that a person who accepts this material body made of three elements, which is, how do you pronounce it? Mucus, bile, and air, as his own self, who considers his family and relatives his own, who accepts material things as worshipable, or who visits holy places of pilgrimage just to take a bath there, but never associates with great personalities, sages, and Mahatmas, such a person, even though in the form of a human being, is nothing but an animal like an ass.
When the Supreme Authority Lord Krishna was thus speaking with great gravity, all the sages and ascetics remained in dead silence. They were amazed upon hearing him speak the absolute philosophy of life in such a concise way. Unless one is very much advanced in knowledge, one thinks his body to be his self, his family members to be his own, and the land of his birth to be worshipable. From this concept of life, the modern ideology of nationalism has sprung up. Lord Krishna condemned such ideas, and he also condemned persons who take the trouble to go to holy places of pilgrimage just to take a bath and come back without taking the opportunity to associate with the great devotees and Mahatmas living there. Such persons are compared to the most foolish animal, the ass. All those who heard considered the speech of Lord Krishna for some time, and they concluded that Lord Krishna was actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing the role of an ordinary human being who is forced to take a certain type of body as a result of the reactions of his past deeds. He was assuming this pastime as an ordinary human simply to teach the people in general how they should live for perfection of the human mission.
Having concluded that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sages addressed him thus: Dear Lord, we, the leaders of human society, are supposed to possess the proper philosophy of life, yet we are bewildered by the spell of your external energy. We are surprised to see your behavior, which is just like that of an ordinary human being and which conceals your real identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we therefore consider your pastimes to be all wonderful.
Our dear Lord, by your own energy, you create, maintain, and annihilate the whole cosmic manifestation of different names and forms in the same way that the earth creates many forms of stone, trees, and other varieties of names and forms, and yet remains the same. Although you create their varieties of manifestations through your energy, you are unaffected by all those actions. Our dear Lord, we are simply stunned to see your wonderful acts. Although you are transcendental to this entire material creation and are the Supreme Lord and the Supersoul of all living entities, you appear on this earth by your internal potency to protect your devotees and destroy the miscreants. By such an appearance, you reestablish the principles of eternal religion, which human society forgets by long association with the material energy. Our dear Lord, you are the creator of the social orders and spiritual statuses of human society according to quality and work. And when these orders are misguided by unscrupulous persons, you appear and set them right.
Dear Lord, the Vedic knowledge is the representation of your pure heart. Austerities, study of the Vedas, and meditative trances lead to different realizations of yourself in your manifested and non manifested aspects. The entire phenomenal world is a manifestation of your impersonal energy, but you yourself, as the original personality of Godhead, are not manifested there. You are the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Brahman. Persons who are situated in Brahmanical culture, therefore, can understand the truth about your transcendental form. Thus, you always hold the Brahmanas in respect, and you are considered to be the topmost of all followers of Brahmanical culture. You are therefore known as Brahmanya Deva. Our dear Lord, you are the last word in good fortune, and the last resort of all saintly persons. Therefore, we are all considered that we have achieved the perfection of our life, education, austerity, and acquisition of transcendental knowledge by meeting you. Factually, you are the ultimate goal of all transcendental achievements.
Our dear Lord, there is no end to your unlimited knowledge. Your form is transcendental, eternally existing in full bliss and knowledge. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Soul, being covered by the spell of your internal potency, Yoga Maya. You are now temporarily concealing your unlimited potencies, but still we can understand your exalted position, and therefore all of us offer you our respectful obeisances. Dear Lord, you are enjoying your pastimes in the role of a human being, concealing your real character of transcendental opulence. Therefore, none of the kings present here, even the members of the Yadu dynasty, who constantly mingle with you, eat with you, and sit with you, can understand that you are the original cause of all causes, the soul of everyone, the original cause of all creation.
When a person dreams at night, hallucinatory figures created by the dream are accepted as real, and the imaginary dream body is accepted as one's real body. For the time being, one forgets that besides the body created in hallucination, there is another, real body in his awakened state. Similarly, in the awakened state also, the bewildered, conditioned soul considers sense enjoyment to be real happiness.
By the process of enjoying the senses of the material body, the spirit soul is covered and his consciousness becomes materially contaminated. It is due to material consciousness that one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All great mystic yogis endeavor to revive their Krishna consciousness by mature practice of the yoga system, just to understand your lotus feet. They meditate upon your transcendental form to counteract their accumulated sinful reactions. It is said that the water of the Ganges can vanquish volumes of a person's careful sinful reactions, but the Ganges water is glorious only due to your lotus feet. The Ganges water flows as perspiration from the lotus feet of your Lordship. And we are all so fortunate that today we have been able to see your lotus feet directly. Dear Lord, we are all surrendered souls, devotees of your Lordship. Therefore, please be kind and bestow your causeless mercy upon us. We know well that persons who have become liberated by constant engagement in your devotional service are no longer contaminated by the material modes of nature. Thus, they have become eligible to be promoted to the kingdom of God in the spiritual world.
After the first offering prayers to Lord Krishna, the assembled sages wanted to take permission from King Dhritarashtra and King Yudhishthira and then depart for their respective ashrams. At that time, however, Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna and the most celebrated of all pious men, approached the sages and with great humility offered his respects by falling down at their feet. Vasudeva said, "My dear great sages, you are more respected than the demigods. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I wish for you to accept my one request, if you so desire. I shall consider it a great blessing if you kindly explain the supreme fruitive activity by which one can counteract the reactions of all other activities."
The great sage Narada was the leader of all the sages present. Therefore, he began to speak. My dear sages, he said, it is not very difficult to understand that because of his great goodness and simplicity, Vasudev, who has become the father of the personality of Godhead by accepting Krishna as his son, is inclined to ask us about his welfare. It is said that familiarity breeds contempt. As such, Vasudev, having Krishna as his son, does not regard Krishna with awe and veneration. Sometimes it is seen that persons living on the bank of the Ganges do not consider the Ganges very important, and they go far away to take their baths at the place of pilgrimage. There is no need for Vasudev to ask us for instructions when Lord Krishna is personally present, because his knowledge is never second in any circumstances. His knowledge is not affected by the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, nor is it ever influenced by any agency beyond himself, nor is it agitated by the interactions of the material qualities or changed in the course of time. His transcendental form is full of knowledge, which never becomes agitated by ignorance, pride, attachment, envy, or sense enjoyment. His knowledge is never subject to the laws of karma regarding pious or impious activities, nor is it influenced by the three modes of material energy. No one is greater than or equal to him because he is the supreme authority, the personality of Godhead.
The ordinary conditioned human being may think that the conditioned soul, who is covered by his materialistic senses, mind, and intelligence, is equal to Krishna. But Lord Krishna is just like the sun, which, although it sometimes may appear to be so, is never covered by the cloud, snow, or fog, or by other planets during an eclipse. When the eyes of less intelligent men are covered by such influences, they think the sun to be invisible. Similarly, persons who are influenced by senses addicted to material enjoyment cannot have a clear vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The sages present then began to address Vasudeva in the presence of Lord Krishna, Balaram, and many other kings, and as requested by him, they gave their instructions. To counteract the reactions of fruitive activities and the desires impelling one to fruitive activities, one must, with faith and devotion, execute the prescribed sacrifices meant for worshiping Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is the beneficiary of the results of all sacrificial performances. Great personalities and sages who are able to see everything clearly through the eyes of the revealed scriptures and possess vision of the three phases of the time element, namely past, present, and future, have unanimously recommended that to purify the dust of material contamination accumulated in the heart and to clear the path of liberation and thereby achieve transcendental bliss, one must please Lord Vishnu. For everyone living as a householder in one of the higher social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, this worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who is known as Purushottam, the original person, is recommended as the only auspicious path.
All conditioned souls within this material world have deep rooted desires to lord it over the resources of material nature. Everyone wants to accumulate riches. Everyone wants to enjoy life to the greatest extent. Everyone wants a wife, home, and children. And everyone wants to become happy in this world and be elevated to the heavenly planets in the next life. But these desires are the causes of one's material bondage. Therefore, to get liberation from this bondage, one has to sacrifice his honesty earned riches for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu.
The only process to counteract all sorts of material desires is to engage oneself in the devotional service of Lord Vishnu. In this way, a self controlled person, even while remaining in householder life, should give up the three kinds of material desires, namely the desire for the acquisition of material opulences, for the enjoyment of wife and children, and for elevation to higher planets. Eventually, he should give up householder life and accept the renounced order, engaging himself completely in the devotional service of the Lord. Everyone, even if born in a higher status as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, is certainly indebted to the demigods, to the sages, to the forefathers, and to other living entities. And in order to liquidate all these debts, one has to perform sacrifices, study the Vedic literature, and generate children in religious householder life. If somehow one accepts the renounced order of life without liquidating these debts, he certainly falls down from his position. Today you have already liquidated your debts to your forefathers and the sages. Now, by performing sacrifices, you can free yourself from indebtedness to the demigods and thus take complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Vasudev, certainly you have already performed many pious activities in your previous lives. Otherwise, how could you be the father of Krishna and Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Saintly Vasudev, after hearing all the sages, offered his respectful obeisances unto their lotus feet. In this way, he pleased the sages, and then he requested them to perform the yajnas. When the sages were selected as priests of the sacrifices, they they in turn induced Vasudev to collect the required paraphernalia for executing the yajnas in that place of pilgrimage. When Vasudev was thus persuaded to start to perform the yajnas, all the members of the Yadu dynasty took their baths, dressed themselves very nicely, decorated themselves beautifully, and garlanded themselves with lotus flowers. Vasudev's wives, dressed with the nice garments and ornaments and golden necklaces, approached the arena of sacrifice, carrying in their hands the required articles to offer in the sacrifice.
When everything was complete, there was heard the vibration of mridangas, conch shells, kettle drums, and other musical instruments. Professional dancers, both male and female, began to dance. The Shutas and Magadas, who were professional singers, began to offer prayers by singing, and the Gandharvas and their wives, whose voices were very sweet, began to sing many auspicious songs. Vasudeva anointed his eyes with black cosmetic, smeared butter over his body, and then, along with his 18 wives headed by Devaki, sat before the priest to be purified by the Abhishek ceremony. While the ceremony was being observed strictly according to the principles of the scriptures, Vasudeva resembled the moon encircled by stars. Because he was being initiated for the sacrifice, he was dressed in a deerskin, but all his wives were dressed with very nice saris, bangles, necklaces, ankle bells, earrings, and many other ornaments. Vasudeva looked very beautiful, surrounded by his wives, exactly like the King of Heaven when he performs such sacrifices.
At that time, when Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, along with their wives, children, and relatives, sat down in that great sacrificial arena, it appeared that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present along with all the living entities and multi energies that are part of Him. We have heard from the Shastras that Lord Krishna has multi energies and parts and parcels, but now, in that sacrificial arena, all could actually experience how the Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally exists with his different energies. At that time, Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Narayan and Lord Balaram appeared as Sankarshan, the reservoir of all living entities.
Vasudev satisfied Lord Vishnu by performing different kinds of sacrifices, such as Jyotistoma and Darsha Purnamasa. Some of these yagyas are called Prakrita, and some of them are known as Shaurya, Satra, or Vaiktra. Vaikrita. Thereafter, the other sacrifices known as Agnihotra were also performed, and the prescribed articles were offered in the proper way. Thus, Lord Vishnu was pleased. The ultimate purpose of offering oblations and sacrifice is to please Lord Vishnu. But in this age of Kali, it is very difficult to collect the different articles required for offering sacrifices. People have neither the means to collect the required paraphernalia nor the necessary knowledge or tendency to offer such sacrifices. Therefore, in this age of Kali, when people are mostly unfortunate, full of anxieties, and disturbed by various kinds of calamities, the only sacrifices recommended is the performance of Sankirtan Yagya. Worshipping Lord Chaitanya by the Sankirtan Yagya is the only recommended process in this age.
After the performance of the different sacrifices, Vasudev offered ample riches, clothing, ornaments, cows, land, and maid servants to the priests. Thereafter, all the wives of Vasudev took their avabrita baths and performed the part of sacrificial duties known as Patni Samyaja. After finishing the offering with all the required paraphernalia, they all took their baths together in the lakes constructed by Parshuram, which are known as the Rama Hrida. After Vasudev and his wives took their baths, all the garments and ornaments they had worn were distributed to the subordinate person engaged in singing, dancing, and similar activities. We may note that the performance of sacrifice necessitates the profuse distribution of riches. Charity is offered to the priests and the brahmanas in the beginning, and used garments and ornaments are offered in charity to the subordinate assistants after the performance of the sacrifice.
After offering the used articles to the singers and reciters, Vasudev and his wives, dressed with new ornaments and garments, fed everyone very sumptuously, from the Brahmanas down to the dogs. After this, all the friends, family members, wives, and children of Vasudev assembled together, along with all the kings and members of the Vidarbha, Kaushala, Kuru, Kashi, Kaikaya, and Sranjaya dynasties. The demigods, the people in general, the forefathers, the ghosts, and the charanas were all generously remunerated by being offered ample gifts and respectful honor. Then all the persons assembled there took permission from Lord Krishna, the husband of the goddess of fortune, and while glorifying the perfection of the sacrifice made by Vasudev, they departed to their respective homes.
At that time, when King Dhritarashtra, Vidura, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya, Kunti, Nakul, Sahadev, Narada, Lord Vyasadeva, and many other relatives and kinsmen were about to depart, they felt separation and therefore embraced each and every member of the Yadu dynasty with great feeling. Many others who were assembled in that sacrificial arena also departed. After this, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, along with King Ugrasena, satisfied the inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men, by profusely offering all kinds of gifts to worship them and please them. Out of their great feelings of friendship, the inhabitants of Vrindavan remained there for a considerable time with the members of the Yadu dynasty.
After performing the sacrifice, Vasudeva felt so satisfied that there was no limit to his happiness. All the members of his family were with him, and in their presence he caught hold of the hands of Nanda Maharaj and addressed him thus: My dear brother, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has created a great tie of bondage known as the bondage of love and affection. I think that is I think that is very difficult job for even the great sages and saintly persons to cut such tie of love. My dear brother, you have exhibited feelings of love for me that I wasn't able to return. I think, therefore, that I'm ungrateful. You have behaved exactly as is characteristic of saintly persons, but I shall never be able to repay you. I have no means to repay you for your friendly dealings. Nevertheless, I am confident that our tie of love will never break. Our friendship must ever continue, in spite of my inability to repay you. I hope you will excuse me for this inability.
My dear brother, in the beginning, due to my being imprisoned, I could never serve you as a friend, and although at the present moment I am very opulent because of my material prosperity, I have become blind. I therefore cannot satisfy you properly even at this time. My dear brother, you are so nice and gentle that you offer all respect to others, but don't care for any respect for yourself. A person seeking auspicious progress in life must avoid possessing too much material opulence so that he will not become blind and puffed up, and he should take care of his friends and relatives.
When Vasudev was speaking to Nanda Maharaj in this way, he was influenced by a great feeling for the friendship of Nanda Maharaj and the beneficial activities executed by King Nanda on his behalf. As such, his eyes filled with tears and he began to cry. Nanda Maharaj, desiring to please his friend Vasudev and being affectionately bound with the love for Lord Krishna and Balaram, passed 3 months in their association. At the end of this time, all the members of the Yadu dynasty tried to please the inhabitants of Vrindavan to their heart's content. The members of the Yadu dynasty tried to satisfy Nanda Maharaj and his associates by offering them clothing, ornaments, and many other valuable articles, and they all became fully satisfied. Vasudev, Ugrasen, Lord Krishna, Lord Balaram, Uddhava, and all other members of the Yadu dynasty presented their individual gifts to Nanda Maharaj and his associates. After Nanda Maharaj received these farewell presentations, he, along with his associates, started for Brajabhumi, Vrindavan. The minds of the inhabitants of Vrindavan remained, however, with Krishna and Balaram, and therefore all them started for Vrindavan without their minds.
When the members of the Vrishni family saw all their friends and visitors departing, they observed that the rainy season was approaching and thus they decided to return to Dwaraka. They were fully satisfied, for they regarded Krishna as everything. When they returned to Dwaraka, they described with great satisfaction the sacrifice performed by Vasudeva, their meeting with various friends and well wishers, and various other incidents that had occurred during their travels in the places of pilgrimage. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 84th chapter of Krishna, sacrificial ceremonies performed by Vasudeva.
Chapter 85, Spiritual Instruction for Vasudev and the Return of the Six Dead Sons of Devaki by Lord Krishna. It is a Vedic custom that the junior members of the family should offer respects to the elders every morning. The children or disciples, especially, should offer their respects to their parents or spiritual master in the morning. In pursuance of this Vedic principle, Lord Krishna and Balaram used to offer their obeisances to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. One day, after having returned from the sacrificial performances at Kurukshetra, when Lord Krishna and Balaram went to offer their respects to Vasudeva, Vasudeva took the opportunity to appreciate the exalted position of his two sons. Vasudeva had the opportunity to understand the position of Krishna and Balaram from the great sages who had assembled in the arena of the sacrifice. Not only did he hear from the sages, but on many occasions he actually experienced that Krishna and Balaram were not ordinary human beings, but were very extraordinary. Thus he believed the words of the sages that his sons, Krishna and Balaram, were the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
With firm faith in his sons, he addressed them thus: My dear Krishna, you are the Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And my dear Balaram, you are Sankarshan, the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, I have now understood that you are eternal. Both of you are transcendental to this material manifestation and to its cause, the Supreme Person, Mahavishnu. You are the original controller of all. You are the resting place of this cosmic manifestation. You are its creator, and you are also its creative ingredients. You are the master of this cosmic manifestation, and actually, this manifestation is created for your pastimes only.
The different material phases that are manifest from the beginning to the end of the cosmos under different formulas of time are also yourself, because you are both the cause and effect of this manifestation. The two features of this material world, the predominator and the predominated, are also you, and you are the supreme transcendental controller who stands above them. Therefore, you are beyond the perception of our senses. You are the supreme soul, unborn and unchanging. You are not affected by the six kinds of transformations which occur in the material body. The wonderful varieties of this material world are also created by you, and you have entered as a supersoul into all of them, down to the atom. You are the vital force of all these manifestations and also their supreme cognition. As such, you are the maintainer of everything.
The vital force, the life principle in everything, and the created force derived from it are not acting independently but are dependent upon you, the supreme person behind these forces. Without your will, they cannot work. Material energy has no cognizance. It cannot act independently without being agitated by you. Because the material nature is dependent upon you, the living entities can only attempt to act. But without your sanction and will, they cannot perform anything or achieve the results they desire.
The original energy is only an emanation from you. My dear Lord, the shining of the moon, the heat of fire, the rays of the sun, the glittering of the stars, and the electric lightning, which are all manifested as very powerful, as well as the gravity of the mountains and the energy and fragrance of the earth, all are different manifestations of you. The pure taste of water, the water itself, and the vital force which maintains all life are also features of your Lordship.
My dear Lord, although the forces of the senses, the mental power of thinking, willing, and feeling, and the strength, movement, and growth of the body appear to be performed by different movements of the airs within the body, they are all ultimately manifestations of your energy. The vast expanse of outer space rests in you. The vibration of the sky, its thunder, the supreme sound Omkara, and the arrangement of different words to distinguish one thing from another are all symbolic representations of you. The senses, the controllers of the senses, the demigods, and the acquisition of knowledge, which is the purpose of the senses, as well as the subject matter of knowledge, are all you. All are you. The resolution of intelligence and the sharp memory of the living entity are also you. You are the egoistic principle of ignorance, which is the cause of this material world, the egoistic principle of passion, which is the cause of the senses, and the egoistic principle of goodness, which is the origin of the different controlling deities of this material world. The illusory energy, or Maya, which is the cause of the conditioned soul's perpetual transmigration from one form to another, is you.
My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the original cause of all causes, exactly as the earth is the original cause of different kinds of trees, plants, and similar varieties of manifestation. As the earth is present in everything, so you are present throughout this material manifestation as the Supersoul. You are the supreme cause of all causes, the eternal principle. Everything, in fact, is a manifestation of your one energy. The three qualities of material nature, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and the result of their interaction are linked up with you by your agency of Yoga Maya. They are supposed to be independent, but actually, the total material energy rests upon you, the Supersoul. Since you are the supreme cause of everything, the interactions of the material manifestation, birth, growth, existence, transformation, deterioration, and annihilation, are all absent in you. Your supreme energy, Yoga Maya, is acting in variegated manifestations. But because Yoga Maya is your energy, you are therefore present in everything.
In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is very nicely explained in the ninth chapter, wherein the Lord says, "In my impersonal form, I am spread all over the material energy. Everything is resting in me, but I am not there." This very statement is also given by Vasudev. To say that the Lord is not present everywhere means that he is aloof from everything, although his energy is acting everywhere. This can be understood by a crude example. In a big establishment, the energy or the organization of the supreme boss is working in every nook and corner of the business. But that does not mean the original proprietor is present there. Although in every department the presence of the proprietor is felt by the workers, the physical presence of the proprietor is in every department is a formality only. Actually, his energy is working everywhere. Similarly, the omnipresence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is felt in the action of his energies. Therefore, the philosophy of inconceivable simultaneously oneness with and difference from the Supreme Lord is confirmed everywhere. The Lord is one, but his energies are diverse.
Vasudev said, "This material world is like a great flowing river, and its waves are the three material modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. This material body, as well as the senses, the faculties of thinking, feeling, and willing, and the stages of distress, happiness, attachment, and lust. All are different products of these three qualities of nature. The foolish person who cannot realize your transcendental identity above all these material reactions continues in the entanglement of fruitive activity and is subjected to the continuous process of birth and death without a chance of being freed.
This is confirmed in a different way by the Lord in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. There it is said that anyone who knows the appearance and activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna is freed from the clutches of material nature and goes back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishna's transcendental name, form, activities, and qualities are not products of this material nature.
My dear Lord, Vasudeva continued, despite all these defects of the conditioned soul, if someone somehow or other comes in contact with devotional service, he achieves a civilized human form of body with developed consciousness and thereby becomes capable of executing further progress in devotional service. And yet, illusioned by the external energy, people generally do not utilize this advantage of the human form of life. Thus, they miss the chance of eternal freedom and unnecessarily spoil the progress they have made after thousands of births.
In the bodily concept of life, due to false egotism, one is attached to the offspring of the body, and thus everyone in conditioned life is entrapped by false relationships and false affection. The whole world is moving under the false impression and suffering material bondage. I know that neither of you is my son. Both of you are the original chief and progenitor, the personality of Godhead, the Purusha with Pradhana. But you have appeared on the surface of this globe to minimize the burden of the world by killing the Kshatriya kings who are unnecessarily increasing their military strength. You have already informed me about this in the past. My dear Lord, you are the shelter of the surrendered souls, the supreme well-wisher of the meek and humble. I am therefore taking shelter of your lotus feet, which alone can give one liberation from the entanglement of material existence.
For a long time, I have simply considered this body to be myself, and although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have considered you my son. My dear Lord, at the very moment when you first appeared in Kamsa's prison house, you informed me that you were the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that you have descended for the protection of the principles of religion, as well as the destruction of the unfaithful. Although unborn, you descend in every millennium to execute your mission. My dear Lord, as in the sky there are many forms, appearing and disappearing, you also appear in many eternal forms and then disappear. Who, therefore, can understand your pastimes or the mystery of your appearance and disappearance? Our only business should be to glorify your supreme greatness.
When Vasudeva was addressing his divine sons in that way, Lord Krishna and Balaram were smiling. Because they are very affectionate to their devotees, they accepted all the appreciation of Vasudeva with a kindly smiling attitude. Krishna then confirmed all of Vasudeva's statements as follows: My dear father, whatever you may say, we are after all your sons. What you have said about us is certainly a highly philosophical understanding of spiritual knowledge. I accept it in toto, without exception.
Vasudeva was in the complete perfection of life in considering Lord Krishna and Balarama to be his sons. But because the sages assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra had spoken about the Lord as the supreme cause of everything, Vasudev simply repeated it out of his love for Krishna and Balarama. Lord Krishna did not wish to detract from his relationship with Vasudev as father and son. Therefore, in the very beginning of his reply, he accepted the fact that he is the eternal son of Vasudeva and that Vasudeva is the eternal father of Krishna. After this, Lord Krishna informed his father of the spiritual identity of all living entities. He continued, "My dear father, everyone and everything, including me and my brother Balaram, as well as all the inhabitants of the city of Dwaraka, and the whole cosmic manifestation are exactly as you have already explained, but all of us are also qualitatively one."
Lord Krishna intended for Vasudeva to see everything with the vision of a Mahabhagavat, a first class devotee who sees that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and that the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In fact, every living entity has a spiritual identity, but in contact with material existence, he becomes influenced by the material modes of nature. He becomes covered by the concept of bodily life, forgetting that his spirit soul is of the same quality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One mistakenly considers one individual to be different from another simply because of their material body coverings. Because of differences between bodies, the spirit soul appears before us differently.
Lord Krishna then gave a nice example in terms of the five material elements. The total material elements, namely the sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are present in everything in the material world, whether in an earthen pot, or in a mountain, or in the trees, or in an earring. These five elements are present in everything, in different proportions and quantities. A mountain is a gigantic form of the combination of these five elements, and a small earthen pot is made of the same element, but in a smaller quantity. Therefore, all material items, although in different shapes of different quantities, are of the same ingredients. Similarly, the living entities, beginning from Lord Krishna and including millions of Vishnu forms, and also the living entities in different forms, from Lord Brahma down to the small ant, are all of the same spiritual quality. Some are great in quantity and some are small, but qualitatively they are of the same nature. It is therefore confirmed in the Upanishads that Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is the chief among all living entities, and that he maintains them and supplies them with all necessities of life. Anyone who knows this philosophy is in perfect knowledge. The Vedic version, Tattvam Asi, thou art the same, means not that everyone is God, but that everyone is qualitatively of the same nature as God.
After hearing Krishna speak the entire philosophy of spiritual life in an abbreviated summation, Vasudeva was exceedingly pleased with his son. Being thus elated, he could not speak but remained silent. In the meantime, Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, sat by the side of her husband. Previously, she had heard that Krishna and Balram were so kind to their teacher that they had brought back the teacher's dead son from the clutches of the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. Since she had heard of this incident, she had also been thinking of her own sons who were killed by Kamsa. and while remembering them, she was overwhelmed with grief.
Out of compassion for her dead sons, Devaki appealed to Lord Krishna and Balaram thus: My dear Balaram, your very name suggests that you give all the pleasure and all strength to everyone. Your unlimited potency is beyond the reach of our minds and words. And my dear Krishna, you are the master of all mystic yogis. I know that you are the master of the Prajapatis like Brahma and his assistants, and you are the original personality of Godhead Narayana. I also know for certain that you have descended to annihilate all kinds of miscreants who have been misled in the course of time. They have lost control of their minds and senses, have fallen from the quality of goodness, and have deliberately neglected the direction of the revealed scriptures by living a life of extravagance and impudence. You have descended on the earth to minimize the burdens of the world by killing such miscreant rulers. My dear Krishna, I know that Mahavishnu, who is lying in the causal ocean of the cosmic manifestation and who is the source of this whole creation, is simply an expansion of your plenary portion. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation are effected only by your plenary portion. I therefore take shelter of you without reservation. I have heard that when you wanted to reward your teacher, Sandipani Muni, and he asked you to bring back his dead son, you and Balaram immediately brought him from the custody of Yamraj, although he had been dead for a very long time. By this act, I understand you to be the supreme master of all mystic yogis. I therefore ask you to fulfill my desire in the same way. In other words, I am asking you to bring back all my sons who were killed by Kamsa. Upon your bringing them back, my heart will be content, and it will be a great pleasure for me just to see them once.
After hearing their mother speak in this way, Lord Balaram and Krishna immediately called for the assistance of Yogamaya and started for the lower planetary system known as Sutala. Formerly, in his incarnation of Vamana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had been satisfied by the king of the demons, Bali Maharaj, who donated to him everything he had. Bali Maharaj was then given the whole of Sutala for his residence and kingdom. Now, when this great devotee, Bali Maharaj, saw that the Lord Balaram and Krishna had come to his planet, he immediately merged in an ocean of happiness. As soon as he saw Lord Krishna and Balarama in his presence, he and all his family members stood up from their seats and bowed down at the lotus feet of the lords. Bali Maharaj offered Lord Krishna and Balarama the best seat he had in his possession, and when both lords were seated comfortably, he began to wash their lotus feet. He then sprinkled the water on his head and on the heads of his family members. The water used to wash the lotus feet of Krishna and Balarama can purify even the greatest demigods, such as Lord Brahma.
So, my dear devotees, that concludes our 1 hour of reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. And we'll resume this chapter of the return of the dead sons of Devaki next Sunday. So, as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnumadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarane, and to each other Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vievacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hari Bol, Jai Shri Krishna Bol, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And remember that Gaur Purnima, the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, is this Tuesday, March 3rd. So all day long we'll be fasting and hearing and chanting the glories of Lord Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.